Hello and welcome to the Marcus Williams Training Academy Title IX Training Program. This lesson is on gathering and evaluating evidence. So if you are taking this lesson as part of the Title IX Training Program, this is lesson 3. You've already gone through lessons on biased investigations and assessing credibility. The training program is made up of 5 lessons designed to give you a foundation upon which to build all of your training and experience. So I've frequently talked about assessing credibility based on the evidence, making it evidence-based, avoiding bias by having an evidence-based finding, corroborating facts through evidence. I keep bringing this up, yet I haven't explained it. So that's what this lesson does. We're going to actually dive into what that means, what evidence means, how it should be used, how it should be interpreted. And that is the flaw that I've seen in the entire system involving Title IX training, is that every training you go to, they give you good legal advice and sound principles and techniques and tips, but there's no foundation, there's no explanation of what that means. Everyone talks about evidence, but nobody tells you what evidence means. What makes up evidence? So that is why I've started this program, why I left to start the consulting group and training academy in general, but this program specifically is to answer those questions, to give you that information so you can build your house of investigations, your career upon the rock. So let's get started. I'm Marcus Williams. I am the president and founder of the Williams Consulting Group and the Training Academy, and I have 20 years of investigative experience in the criminal justice system and also in the Title IX world. I have experience working, years of experience. My expertise was in sex crimes and all sorts. If all of the behaviors that you have listed in your sexual misconduct policy are behaviors that, if crimes, I've probably investigated. And as an agent with the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, or NCIS, I was able to do that all over the United States and actually Europe and Asia as well. So that's unique among federal agencies that I was able to do it in so many locations, but also sex crimes are generally crimes handled by local authorities. They're not federal crimes. But in the military system, those are crimes under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, or UCMJ, and therefore they are federal and investigated by federal agents. So it's a little bit different. I had the resources and time and backing of the federal system to learn how to investigate crimes that are normally associated with state or local authorities. And I was able to do it for years, where in a lot of jurisdictions, a detective may be placed on the sex crime squad for a couple years at most, and then they move on to something else. Rarely does someone have the time or the ability to do it over the course of 15 years in multiple jurisdictions, in multiple locations, and just get that variety and amount of experience and knowledge. And I worked with local authorities a lot in different jurisdictions. I worked with foreign law enforcement. So I have a very solid foundation of what an investigation should look like, and specifically in sexual misconduct. So let's answer the basic question. What is evidence? When I keep saying evidence, when people talk about evidence, what does that include? What does that mean? And the bottom line is all information is evidence. And this is a very broad perspective, probably more broad than other people would tell you. When we normally think of evidence, we think of forensic evidence. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? For a lot of people, it's blood stains. It's the weapon. It's a knife or a gun. It's the note. It's footwear impressions in the dirt. It's fingerprints. All of its trace evidence, its hairs and fibers. All of the physical evidence that you can collect at a crime scene. So another unique thing about NCIS is that we conducted our own crime scene examinations. And I did so in various situations outside in the desert. We did on ships, in barracks, which would be very similar to college dormitories, hotel rooms. So we were trained to do our own. In big offices, there were crime scene specialists, but we were expected to be able to do it all over the world. We had agents who were conducting crime scenes in active war zones. So forensic physical evidence, all very important, but they are only a piece. They are only part of what evidence is. All information is evidence, especially in an administrative type investigation like Title IX investigations. You have to consider all evidence. You do not have the authority or ability to do a crime scene examination. You rarely are going to get a student who comes into you the next day and says, you know, this happened last night, and you don't pick up your crime scene kit and go to their dorm and run a crime scene exam. That would be bad. You're destroying the crime scene for law enforcement. So physical evidence plays a smaller part, but it's still important. So I've talked about, if you watched the other two, if you're part of the course, I talked about the investigation as a puzzle. And I want to look at evidence that way. So bear with me again as I talk about the puzzle, because it applies specifically to this. Every bit of information is a puzzle piece. Your job as an investigator and as a decision maker at a hearing is to figure out what the picture is. So the investigator puts the puzzle together, the decision maker looks at the overall picture and determines what that means. So if every piece of information is evidence, you're going to get lots of information. Some of it is going to pertain and apply and be relevant, and some of it is not. So you have to determine, okay, I have a stack of puzzle pieces in front of me. I don't have any boxes. I don't have any box tops with pictures. So I have to determine which puzzle all of these pieces go to. And sometimes it's more than one. Sometimes it's puzzles that are not what you are investigating. All of that information is helpful, even if it doesn't pertain to your puzzle, because then you know. Once you can determine that something is for a different puzzle, you can put that aside. So that is still helpful to you. So the more information you can gather, the clearer the picture you'll have of the incident and the parties, the clearer picture you'll have of the overall puzzle. Remember, you're just collecting pieces, and then you have to divide those by color, divide them by shape, divide them by object, and try to put those together. So all information is helpful, but not all information is relevant. So when you're investigating, you are not just trying to look for only gather relevant information. Your first step is to gather all information. You determine relevance after the fact. How do you do that? How do you look at a puzzle piece and determine if it belongs or not? You look at the color, you look at the shape, you look at the style, and you make that determination. In your investigation, you ask yourself the question, does this piece of information corroborate a detail of the allegation or incident? If it does, it pertains. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If you're not sure yet, you keep it there and you keep investigating until you know. You have this undetermined pile of puzzle pieces. You sit down with a complainant and you do an interview. You take that complainant's statement. They are going to tell you a story. The sexual misconduct, the sexual assault happened at this location, at this time, by this person. They give you the who, what, when, and where. All of those are facts. They've asserted facts. So you take all of those facts, and you don't know that they're true yet. All you know is that these are the facts asserted by this person. You're telling me that this is what happened, and these are the details. Your job is to go out and determine whether you can support, whether you can corroborate all of those facts. So you look at a piece of evidence, does it corroborate one of the facts asserted in the statement? That's the question you ask to determine if it's relevant or not.